Welcome to Salute Your Sports Week 17. Kamenechev, Drew Brackett, Tom Castleman. Exciting show. We've got our Super Bowl special today. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. A dream matchup in the Super Bowl, guys. It is going to be a great game.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. There are tons and tons of storylines galore in this one. It's going to be compelling on a number of different levels. Definitely going to be really excited to get into a detailed breakdown preview of the game.
Well, and it's on CBS, so we all get to hear Tony Romo for 6 hours.
Yeah, what's great about this Super Bowl is that what do Tony Romo and I have in common?
I'm not answering that question. Let's break down Sunday's game.
All right, real quick. We both picked the Super Bowl. We both predicted this. I had it in week 3. Romo had it, or I think week 4 on the show I picked it. Romo had it in week 7.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we have in common. We both predicted the Super Bowl.
And you both
wasn't sure which route you were going.
We both what, Tom?
And you both stayed with it throughout the entire season. Neither of you ever wavered at any point in time or had any sell-offs of bandwagon stock or anything of the sort.
Well, what makes it beautiful is that I will be honest with you. I had the Bucs originally. I sold my Bucs stock, and then I bought it back in time for the NFC Championship game. Romo's prediction was probably a little more impressive in the sense that he said it, ironically, after the Chiefs beat the Bucs 27-24. Tampa Bay was 7-5 after that game, and Romo still said he thought that team had what it took to get to the Super Bowl and what is actually a rematch. Earlier this season, also in Tampa Bay, for the first time in Super Bowl history, a team hosts a game in its own home stadium. We've had a couple other instances where a team was in its home city, but this is the first home stadium. But, guys, let's start with the breakdown. We're going to get to the offenses in a little bit. Let's start with the defenses, and let's talk about Castleman's favorite positions, the battle in the trenches, defensive line, linebackers. Who do we think is the better run defense and the better D-line?
Yeah, I think the better D-line overall has to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you go down the line, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, and Jason Pierre-Paul. They have quality at all 4 positions on their 4-3 front. When you flip it over to the Chiefs, they have a real game wrecker in Chris Jones at defensive tackle. Frank Clark's also really good on the end, but not quite the same level of talent, I don't think, on the defensive line. So, I mean, with Vita Vea, you've got great run stopping for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You also have Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, fantastic edge rushers. Casey's going to have to rely a little bit more on some creative blitzing, I think. But it's close, but I'd give the edge to Tampa Bay, I think, in defensive line play.
Yeah, I think the defense for the Bucs, the rushing defense was number 1 in the regular season, holding opponents to 80 yards per game on the ground, and they were 5th in the NFL in sacks during the regular season. So the Bucs definitely have the better defense. Of course, the big story leading into this game is, can they get to Patrick Mahomes? That guy just doesn't ever seem to get sacked, especially when the blitz is coming. So that's going to be a key factor on Sunday.
Yeah, Drew, you stole the stats right from under me. You had to know I was going to give the stats. So as you said, the Bucs number 1 run defense in the regular season. In the playoffs, they've been number 2. They held that great Packers rushing attack to just 67 yards rushing. You had them at 5th in sacks, but I actually have them at tied for 4th. So you could have, listed that statistic even better, but you chose not to. They're very good at pressuring the quarterback, too. I mean, 5 sacks against Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. So when we're talking about strictly the defensive line and the linebacking core, kind of the front 7, the Buccaneers have the edge there. Tom kind of, listed off the players. It goes down to depth. Tampa Bay simply has more depth to that position. The Chiefs, though, have a lot of talent in the sense that they've got 2 Pro Bowlers in Frank Clark and Chris Jones. but, 4 or 5 deep, and, when they rotate guys in 6, 7, 8 deep, and we get into the linebackers, the Bucs do have the edge in the run defense and pressuring the quarterback. However, the secondary, I think, is a completely different story, guys. I think the Buccaneers, for as great as their run defense has been, as good as their pressure of the quarterback has been, their pass defense is pretty poor. You look at the Chiefs, they were 14th against the pass in the regular season. The Bucs were 21st. Now, both teams are very good at getting interceptions. The Chiefs had 16, 5th in the league. Tampa Bay had 15, one behind. But the story of this game, to me, is going to be how will that Tampa Bay pass defense and that secondary hold up. Because for the Chiefs, we've got Tyrann Mathieu, a safety, had 6 interceptions this year, all sorts of pass deflections, tackles. He's just an incredible player, probably the best defensive player on the field in this game from either team, arguably. Meanwhile, over there in Tampa Bay, this is a defense that gave up 346 yards passing to Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? Earlier this season in the matchup, they gave up 462 yards against Mahomes, 269 alone against Tyreek Hill. So when it comes down to secondary play, I think this is an area that the Chiefs really have a pretty big advantage.
Yeah, and I think a big thing that's going to come down to for the secondary is actually health. You look at Tampa Bay, both of their safeties, Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead, could both be out of the game. I don't think we have an official update on their status yet. It's going to come down to health, and it's going to come down to scheme a little bit. There's a couple different scenarios where you can kind of sort of slow Patrick Mahomes down a little bit. Of course, you can't really completely stop him because he is the most talented quarterback playing the game right now. But there's a couple different things that Tampa can do. The one coverage that Mahomes struggles against the most is cover 2 man. So that's where you have 2 high safeties that basically kind of split the field in half, and then you play man coverage underneath. So if the Buccaneer safeties are able to play, or at least if their starting safeties are able to play, that's going to be a lot more of an advantage as opposed to having their backup safeties, which means you're having the 6th, 7th, 8th best cover guys on the field as opposed to, your top 5. So that's going to be a pretty big thing for the secondary to do in the game. That's going to be really key.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary is going to, be important in this game, of course, stopping Hill and Travis Kelce and, Mecole Hardman could become a factor, but I don't think Hill is going to go off on Sunday. I think they're going to lock him down, double him most plays. Look for a Mecole Hardman or Sammy Watkins to get some decent amount of catches, especially Travis Kelce. Of course, we'll get to the props later, but, I think that it's just going to come down to, can they pressure Patrick Mahomes? And I know we brought it up, but if that secondary is man-to-man and they're bringing an extra guy on that defensive line to try and get to Mahomes, Hill could become free at any moment. So how will that defense react to being in man coverage all alone without any help? We'll see what kind of schemes they do.
Yeah, and a quick note on the defense, I flipped them up. KC is the 4-3 defense. Tampa Bay is the 3-4. And what that allows for is a little bit more of creative pressuring. So something that we saw, and I was reading, I believe it was Bill Barnwell from ESPN had this, where if you look at the Atlanta Falcons game where the Chiefs put up, I think, just 17 points, what Atlanta was doing was it's called sim pressure. And what that is that they will show a certain type of blitz, and then they'll do something where they either overload one side of the line to get a free rusher that way, or they'll show a blitz. They'll always drop back so that they're only sending 4 rushers and then dropping 7 in coverage. And that was something that kind of confused Patrick Mahomes a little bit too. So Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if he's able to kind of take a page out of a rival's playbook, that could be a factor for Tampa Bay as well. But I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's just so good. Even with all the great individual talent in Tampa Bay, it's going to take all of their cleverness to really to get some pressure home.
A couple of things. The Buccaneers' man coverage is not how you go up against the Chiefs. That's what they tried to do against Tyreek Hill. The first time they played, he went over 200 receiving yards in the first quarter alone in that game. in itself. Also, blitzing, something Tampa Bay does like to do. I agree they do it more deceptively than most, but Mahomes completely shreds the blitz. He's got incredible statistics against the blitz. I should have looked him up online before the show, but quite honestly, that's not the way to beat Mahomes. I think the Bucs, it's a matchup nightmare for them, I think, because what they like to do is they like to blitz, they like to do man coverage, and you can't do that against Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. The problem is you can't double both of them. You physically cannot do it, and then you've got fast guys like Mecole Hardman, not Mecole, Drew, Mecole. Get your pronunciations right.
It's Mecole. Mecole Hardman.
Mecole.
No.
No,
it's Mecole.
It's Mecole. I covered.
Mecole. No. It's Mecole.
All right. Well, I have the Chiefs pronunciation guide.
I'll look it up.
From when I covered the Texans game in the comeback last year, I'm 100% sure because I called them Mecole on the air one time, and then I realized that it was Mecole. So every time they call him Mecole on ESPN, I cringe and I get upset, and I also think back to when I called him Mecole. He is Mecole. But nonetheless, he's really been coming on of late for the Chiefs. Sammy Watkins might play in the game as well. He hasn't played all playoffs long. I think that it's tough for the Buccaneers secondary against this Chiefs speed. I think it's just going to be too much for them, and it's a very tough matchup for them. And we saw them do better in the game earlier this season, but still 462 passing yards. And there was a play where Hardman dropped what would have been a slant, would have been an 87-yard touchdown. They would have gone over 500 yards if he makes that catch. So secondary-wise, I think it's the Chiefs. What do you guys think in terms of overall defense as Drew looks up his mistake about Mecole Hardman's pronunciation?
All I know is they called him Mecole in college, so.
Well, they messed it up. I covered one of his games in college against the Mizzou Tigers. He shredded the Mizzou secondary back when he was in his Georgia Bulldog days.
Yes. Interesting. Now go ahead with what you were saying.
Better overall defense, Tom? Factoring everything into play?
I think factoring everything into play, I'll take the Buccaneers as the better overall defense. I like their front three, I guess, or front four, their consistent pass rushing that they have going on. And then you look at their linebackers. I mean, you have, let me find here, Levante David and Devin White have just been incredible. I mean, if any pair of inside linebackers can try to match up with Travis Kelce, it's them. I think Tampa Bay has the better defense, and they're going to need it. I think that where Kansas City has not necessarily the better overall talent, but they have some really good matchups is with how we're saying Chris Jones providing pressure up the middle. That's something that Tom Brady really does not like facing. Tom Brady can move up in the pocket with edge pressure pretty easily. It's really forcing it up the middle. So Chris Jones is going to be big for that. And then, yeah, you mentioned Tyrann Mathieu, another great individual talent. So I think it's kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs might have like the best defensive, maybe even best two defensive players overall. But Tampa Bay just has so much more depth. It's going to take a team effort to stop either of these offenses. I'll take the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think the Bucs do have the better defense. Very close, of course, but I don't know who I trust at this point. I know they've been playing well in the playoffs on the road, but defenses can only hold up so much. So I don't know if we're gonna switch ends of the ball here, but
I've got a quick comment. I didn't give you my.
Go ahead on the defense.
So first off, a lot of sports is matchups. I think on average, if we were going to line them up on paper, you take a look at the Bucs. They allow a little bit less points. They allow a little bit less total yards. So you would say that Tampa Bay maybe has the edge, but I really think it comes down to matchups. And Tampa Bay's defense matches up worse against the Chiefs than it does vice versa. I think the Kansas City defense should play better in this game. We saw them, they held Josh Allen to 287 yards, but most of that was in garbage time. when they were already up. So they completely shut down a Bills passing attack for most of the game. That was a very good pass defense. Whereas Tampa Bay, like you see that division they play in. You take a look at Carolina, not a very good passing team. I mean, I guess Atlanta is pretty decent. The Saints have kind of transitioned to more of a running team. Against the big teams, their pass defense has not held up. Has not held up against the Packers. The most recent game, even though they won, didn't hold up against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' defense in this matchup, they match up better and they will play better. So I'm going to say the Chiefs actually have the edge on defense in this game. Close, though. Close. I don't think it's by any means significant. I think you got to give credit to Tampa Bay for forcing a lot of turnovers, which is really their only path to stopping the Chiefs in this game. I don't think they're going to shut them down schematically. They've got nothing they can do. But if they can force a couple turnovers, then they have a chance. Both of these defenses are pretty opportunistic. I don't think either quarterback will turn the ball over too much, though. Brady, maybe not this time. He got his turnovers last game. But we are going to switch sides of the ball. Drew Brackett can be happy. What do you think about the offensive line and the running backs, guys? Who kind of has the edge in the running game and pass protection, run blocking, kind of the battle of the trenches, as Castleman would like to say?
I think it's pretty clear that the Buccaneers have the better offensive line. I mean, you look at Kansas City, and they're down essentially 3 starters from where they want to be. They've had time, obviously, to prepare for their guard, Duvernay Tardif. He opted out at the beginning of the season, but he was a starting caliber guard for them. And then they had Mitchell Schwartz with a back injury earlier this year. He's not playing, I don't believe. And then Eric Fisher, unfortunately, had an Achilles injury in the AFC title game. So the Chiefs have had to shuffle around a lot of their offensive linemen. They're not going with their best unit. And, talking about, just as we were defensive matchups, when you have 2 guys coming off the edge in Jason Pierre-Paulin and Shaq Barrett against essentially backup offensive tackles, that's going to be a really, really big problem. And then we've seen Tampa Bay have a pretty balanced attack on offense, being able to open up some holes for Fournette, for Ronald Jones Jr. So I think Tampa Bay has the advantage in the offensive line play.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Tampa Bay, the better offensive line. I know that Ronald Jones averages 5.1 yards per carry, which is pretty good on the season. But something curious about the Chiefs' offensive line, they only allowed 24 sacks in the regular season. The Bucs' offensive line allowed 22 sacks during the regular season, so it's pretty close in that rate. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes very good at avoiding pressure. So I'm not sure the Bucs' defense will get to him that often, but yeah, give the offensive line a vote to the Bucs for sure.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that, you've got 2 teams with good offensive lines and good quarterback play, great quarterback play, quite frankly, in the Super Bowl. Pro Football Focus ranked the Buccaneers the number 5 offensive line in the NFL. Brady under pressure, just 24% of dropbacks. That was the 4th lowest in the NFL. That's what's going to come down to. If the Chiefs can pressure Brady, maybe 35% instead of 25% of the time, certainly they should cruise in this game. I think, Tampa Bay probably didn't run the ball enough this regular season. The Chiefs actually averaged more rushing yards in the regular season, but in the postseason, we've seen more of that balance that Tom spoke to with Fournette. Jones actually playing a little bit worse because of injury, but I do like their running back depth better than the Chiefs, who, quite frankly, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell are both pretty banged up for Kansas City. I think they're both going to play, but I don't think either one is necessarily 100%. Le'Veon Bell officially is still questionable. No, he's not the running back he was a few years back, though. Chiefs, by the way, 11th in the NFL in Pro Football Focus, according to offensive line play. Tom mentioned that Mitchell Schwartz, who was maybe a very good player for them, went down earlier this season. Of course, they had oh gosh, I don't want to pronounce his name, but he's the doctor that went out to fight COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Fisher was actually a Pro Bowl offensive lineman, and he's probably the one player for Kansas City that might not play in this game. He hasn't been ruled out officially, but he didn't practice today. So I've got to give the offensive line edge to Tampa Bay in this game. We will, by the way, go back to special teams and coaches. I know I skipped over special teams. That'll be a big one in this game. But guys, what about? I think this is probably the most interesting question. I'm really curious to see what you guys say in terms of who has the better receivers / tight ends, the better receiving core, because I think it's close. It really depends which way you argue it.
Yeah, it's real it's kind of the top end talent versus the overall depth, right? I mean, you look at Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I mean, they are, they were like 1 and 2 in receiving yards or something like that. Or they were at one point they were 1 and 2 in receiving yards in the NFL, just some ridiculous number. And then in Tampa Bay, you just have so many weapons with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown has found a little bit of a niche role. And even if you go down, Scotty Miller makes plays. You have Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski. Even though he can't really run, you can still rely on him for just a little bit of magic, as we saw in that Packers game in the NFC Championship. So I think top end talent goes to Kansas City. I mean, they certainly have depth too with McCole Hardman. Sammy Watkins has been kind of banged up. I mean, through his entire career, he can't really rely on him. But it's really about the top two for KC, and then finding the mismatches after that. Whereas with Tampa Bay, they just seem to have more talent overall that can kind of win one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have a set of different receivers with different skills and different styles per se. Obviously, Mike Evans is 6'6", very tall receiver. Hill. He doesn't have the size, but he certainly has the speed, the agility, the athleticism. His route running has become very good over the last few years. And tight end, obviously, you got to give the edge to Travis Kelce, because Cameron Brate, I think, is questionable for the Super Bowl. I think he was a limited participant in practice the other day for the Bucs. Gronk he already retired once. The guy's not young. And so, as you mentioned, Tom, he's good for a catch or two, but that's about it. So you have to give the tight end edge to Travis Kelce there. But Chris Godwin, he's a good second, kind of a slot guy for the Bucs. And, you compare him to either Sammy Watkins or whoever the number 2 is in Kansas City, you give the edge to the Bucs there.
Yeah, I think Tom put it best. That it comes down to what you're looking for. Are you looking for, a receiving core of depth? I think certainly you list off the names. I mean, you were selling Antonio Brown short. He was actually their best receiver the last 5 or 6 games prior to getting hurt against the Saints in the first half. They're saying he will play in the Super Bowl. Antonio Brown really emerged as a great receiver. You got Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, Drew probably sold him short. This is a guy that went well over 1,000 yards last year. Again, this is more than a solid guy. There's some very good players. Gronkowski, again, probably selling him a little bit short. He's had, spurts and moments where he's been pretty good. I mean, we saw him win the Super Bowl for New England 2 years ago practically by himself in a game that no one wanted to do anything. So I think without question, the Buccaneers have the most depth. I do think I'm going to give a very slight edge to Kansas City, only because I look at it this way. Who are the top 2 offensive players? As good as Mike Evans is, he's not as good as Tyreek Hill. No way. Tyreek Hill is better than Mike Evans. Travis Kelce is better than, anyone on Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay's 3rd, 4th, 5th option, absolutely, it's better than the Chiefs' 3rd, 4th, 5th. But I look at the superstars, I look at the go-to guys, and I like Kansas City in it. Just to give you a couple stats, Castleman, you mentioned Kelce and Hill being 1-2. So they're actually number 2 and 3 in the postseason. They would be 1-2 because they played one less game than, Stephon Diggs. So they're 1 and 2 in yards receiving in the postseason. In the regular season, Kelsey finished second. Hill actually dropped to 8th, but neither played the last week of the season. Looking at the stats, Hill likely would have been 5th. Kelsey second, possibly first. And also receiving yards, Hill was second in the NFL, or receiving touchdowns, rather, behind Devontae Adams. So, I mean, those two guys, if not 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, you've got, I think, safe to say you've got 2 of the top 5 receiving targets in the National Football League on the same team. So, with that said, I will give a very, very slight edge to the Chiefs' core, but certainly the Buccaneers, man, I think we're looking at the 2 best teams in the league in the skill positions. I don't think any team in the National Football League has as many skilled players as the Bucs. I only say the Chiefs get a slight edge because they've got the 2 best skilled players.
Absolutely, yeah. And then moving on to probably the greatest skill position in the game, there will be no shortage of conversation about this on Sunday. So for me, I'm going to keep it brief. As far as we're talking about quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback.
Short and sweet. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Patrick Mahomes is obviously the better quarterback. I mean, he's at least 15 years younger than Tom Brady. Tom Brady's at the end of his career. Patrick Mahomes just starting to build his legacy in his career. So, yeah, absolutely. Mahomes is the better quarterback. And quite honestly, I think the Chiefs should throw at least 51 times on Sunday.
51 times. That almost sounds like a prop somewhere.
I think it's probably in the mid to high 40s, his passing attempts.
Oh, attempts I haven't checked. I think completions is like 31.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, hammer the over. Yeah, goodness gracious.
I mean,
they should run first down, second down, third down. Pass early downs. I think that's going to be key for the Chiefs. Pass on early downs. Make the Bucs defend the pass. They're going to defend the run quite well. We've seen that against the Packers. We saw that against the Washington football team. Make them defend the pass.
Yeah, and I think that the Chiefs know that, and I think Andy Reid knows that. If anything, Andy Reid gets criticized for not running the ball enough. So I don't think we're going to have any issues when it comes to Andy Reid's decision-making in passing the ball. I think Patrick Mahomes right now is better than Tom Brady ever has been. I think, you talk about age. I actually think, Brady's not quite what he was, but he's not that far off. So I think he's still a very good quarterback. But simply the main difference between the two of them is that Patrick Mahomes can escape the rush. Tom Brady can't escape the rush. So if you can pressure Brady, you can beat him. But you have no answer for Mahomes because if you pressure him, he runs around. And once he starts running around and you have Tyreek Hill ad-libbing, Travis Kelce ad-libbing, you're in trouble. And there's actually a great article I read about a month ago about Travis Kelce, who actually used to be a past quarterback. And it speaks to Kelce's intelligence on the football field and how he might be the most intelligent player in the NFL. He really understands when a play breaks down where he needs to go. So that's what makes that Chiefs offense really unstoppable, because when the play breaks down, you've got Mahomes, making crazy plays, and Hill and Kelce know where to be. I mean, Mahomes better at QBR, more yards, better passer rating than Brady this season. Brady actually had a couple more touchdowns only because Mahomes sat week 17. I think Mahomes definitely gets the edge in this one, and I think that's really going to be a big difference in the game, is that Mahomes can extend plays. In a game like this may come down to 2 or 3 plays. Tom Brady might take a sack. Mahomes might take a 50-yard touchdown. I mean, that's what it is. It's really that simple. This man is that good at that position. This is his 3rd NFL season as a starter. Right? It's his 4th total. In 3 NFL seasons, this man, Patrick Mahomes, has yet to lose a double-digit game. Every game he's lost has been by 1 score, or he's won all of them. And he's a coin flip away in the AFC Championship game, essentially 2 years ago from winning 3 Super Bowls, because he's going to win this one. And had he gotten that coin flip in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago, certainly the Chiefs would have won the Super Bowl that year as well. So I like Patrick Mahomes, the greatest living, greatest talented, best quarterback of all time. One very underrated part of Mahomes' game, extremely underrated, actually, is his decision-making and how well he understands the game. A lot of people want to label this as, he's got the pure talent, but he's a very smart player. His understanding of coverage is unbelievable, and he's actually the perfect mix of quarterback. He's like a mix of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. He's gunslinger. He knows when to do that, but he tends to also know when not to force plays. I mean, he's going to force it a little bit because he's got that arm, but he's the perfect mix of quarterback that you want. So, I mean, it's got to be Mahomes. Better overall offense, guys. What do you think? Because we're kind of all on the same page. Tampa Bay has the better D-line, better run game. The Chiefs have the better quarterback, but they're pretty close in the receiving area. I mean, their numbers pretty similar in the regular season and postseason when it comes to offense, guys. Who do we think has the overall edge?
I mean, it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs, I think. I mean, you have 2 head coaches that are very offensive-minded with Andy Reid and Bruce Arians. I think it's close. I mean, you take out the whole quarterback thing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes just elevates everything, and his understanding of Andy Reid's offense is really the difference maker. I think there's more overall talent across the board. So, like looking at this game kind of overall, it looks like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just more talent overall, but Kansas City has the best talent in like 2 or 3 or 4 positions that really make the difference, namely at quarterback. So on offense, I'll give an edge to the Kansas City Chiefs for the top end, overcoming Tampa Bay's depth.
Yeah, I think it's very close. I think the Chiefs have the better offense for the reasons Tom stated. Yeah, I mean, they were number 1 and 2 in the regular season in passing offense. So we have the 2 best teams playing each other. It took the Bucs a little bit to really start clicking on all cylinders like they have been. But the offense, they've scored, but it's mainly been due to the defense in their last couple of playoff games. So, the Chiefs just go on and, Patrick Mahomes will do what he does best. So you got to trust the Chiefs offense in this game.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, Tom, again, me and you have kind of been hammering the same point home, depth versus top-end talent. I think the Bucs have better overall depth, but I look at who are the 3 best offensive players in this game. Well, I think it's Patrick Mahomes is number 1. Number 2, you can sit here and argue between Kelce and Hill. It's hard. Maybe give Kelce a slight edge. And then Hill is number 3, or flip them around, vice versa, whatever you want to do. But I think the Chiefs have the 3 best offensive players and the 3 best overall players in this game. And you mentioned the defense. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is probably the best defensive player on either team. But again, I think offense and defense overall is very close, and 1 or 2 turnovers could make a difference. Special teams, though, I think, is an area where the Chiefs have a surprisingly enormous edge in special teams. If you actually take a look at the special teams rankings, let me pull this up here. I will source it. Lineups.com, NFL rankings, special teams rankings. The Chiefs are ranked the number 1 special teams in the National Football League. The Buccaneers, number 26. And the big difference really came down to kick return and punt return coverage. And the Buccaneers, as we saw in the game against the Saints, their punt return coverage is horrendous. These guys cannot stop big returns. And the Chiefs, punt return coverage and kick return, very good. And you've got, whether it's Hardman or Hill out there, there could be a couple big plays that the special teams return game makes for the Chiefs. I still don't think they're going to get a touchdown on the opening kickoff because we're going to have probably a touchback. But there is an Illinois bettor that bet $10,000 to win $200 that the opening kick does not go back for a touchdown. So if Tampa Bay kicks the ball and maybe their kicker doesn't get enough on it, that guy's money could be in trouble. Devin Hester, of course, scoring the only kick return touchdown in Super Bowl history. The other interesting thing, we had the story with COVID and how 20 Chiefs players were set to get a haircut on Sunday, and the barber tested positive for COVID, so they didn't get the haircut. Mahomes was in that group, by the way. The Buccaneers, I don't know if you guys saw this today, but they have put their kicker, their punter, and their snapper on the COVID list. So I think that could make things interesting whether they play in that game or not, because if they don't, that edge becomes even bigger to the Chiefs. Both kickers, Suckup and Butker, have been amazing this year, kicking field goals. Butker has struggled with extra points, but I don't think he misses an extra point this game. I think Kansas City gets an enormous edge in special teams.
I don't know how much more there needs to be said. I mean, I'm hoping for the Illinois better. As somebody who likes overly juiced bets, I hope that it is in fact a touchback or just anything a yard short of the end zone, so that he gets that $200 payout on the $10,000 wager. You summed it up perfectly. Kansas City has the edge in special teams for the most part. That's an interesting note. I had not seen the COVID list for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers special teamers. It was this morning. I hadn't seen that, so that definitely is something to keep an eye on. Hopefully they're able to go, and it's like this is. I mean, this is a side tangent, but how could you let something like that happen? How could you plan to have half your team going to get a haircut before the game? No. Yeah. Stay in your room. This is the Super Bowl.
You don't need that haircut. They got lucky.
You got an entire off season to get a haircut.
She doesn't even know football, and she said it was bad. I'm like, yeah, I know, Mom.
Yeah, not ideal. Special teams, yeah, I mean, it's the Chiefs who have the edge. I'd like to see a special teams touchdown this year, maybe a punt return.
Is that a good prop bet? Maybe you can make that prop bet.
I haven't looked into that one.
You could probably get good odds on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, coaching staff. What do we think about who has the better coaching staff in this game? Head coach and overall head coaching staff, because certainly in the NFL, the defensive, or rather the assistant coaches and coordinators matter more, arguably, in the National Football League than any other sport. And it pays to have good coordinators. I mean, you look at Bill Belichick, he made his name as a coordinator when he won the Super Bowl as an assistant, then became a big-time head coach. Guys, what do we think about the coaching staffs?
I mean, I think they're pretty much even. I'm going to give a slight edge to Kansas City for the simple fact that they've been here before. They've done this before. That's where I'm going to give the slight edge. I mean, both teams attack differently on both sides of the football, so it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples on that one. But if you look at, obviously Andy Reid and Bruce Arians are very qualified head coaches. And then, you look at the coordinators, Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, both are highly qualified candidates to become head coaches someday. Steve Spagnuolo and Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinators, have both been head coaches, I believe. Steve Spagnuolo was a head coach for, was it the Rams? Maybe it's the Giants. He's been a head coach before. And then, even Dave Toub, the special teams coordinator for Kansas City, former special teams coordinator for the Chicago Bears, he's been somebody who kind of has been seen as an overlooked candidate for years and years and years as a head coaching candidate. So lots of great talent between these two staffs. I give a slight edge to Kansas City for the simple fact that they've already been in the Super Bowl. They already know how to prepare for it, even though this year is unlike any other Super Bowl, and hopefully it always will be unlike any other one. Hopefully we don't have to do this again. Slight edge to KC.
Yeah, slight edge to KC. I agree with that. My question is, it's interesting. 4 or 5 years ago, what was Andy Reid known for? Not managing the clock well, right? He was horrible at time management, and, I don't think that'll play a factor on Sunday. Hopefully it doesn't. I know he's won a Super Bowl now, and things have really changed, but, that's my only hesitation with him is 4 years ago, that was his kind of rep was, he doesn't know how to manage the clock. But now, since getting Patrick Mahomes and forming this, very creative offense that is absolutely on fire, he's kind of dropped that reputation. But we'll see if it comes into play on Sunday. I'm not sure that it will, but yeah, edge to the Chiefs.
Yeah, you bring up, it's easy to single out a couple instances and make it into a broader story. I don't necessarily know how true that is. I got to, look up more game specifics, but I'll tell you, part of it is learning and growing, and you never stop learning, and Andy Reid continues to learn and continues to get better. You were listing off all the special teams coaches, Tom. Another special teams coach, Andy Hill, is a special teams coach with the Chiefs, former Mizzou special teams coordinator. I actually got the chance to interact with him this last summer when I was working in Columbia. His son plays for the Rockbridge football team. He was out there at Rockbridge practice giving pointers to the players. I don't think many of them realize that, he knows Patrick Mahomes, but nonetheless, a cool tidbit there. I think, Tom, you put it best earlier. Like, I'm really agreeing with you today. I don't know what it is, but you're on fire today with your analysis, just completely on point. I'll give you the stats to prove what you're saying. You talked about the Chiefs having been there and Bruce Arians and the Bucs not having been there. Well, Bruce Arians, and granted, he's been a long-time assistant. He hasn't coached as long as Andy Reid has. But prior to this postseason, Bruce Arians had one playoff win, whereas Andy Reid is now going to, play in he's been in 6 conference championship games. This is about to be his 3rd Super Bowl as a head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. He lost the Super Bowl the first time around, then he won it. Same deal with the NFC championship games. He kept getting there with the Eagles, couldn't get over the hump, got over the hump, got to the game. Then with Kansas City, got over that hump and won the big game. So I think Andy Reid is very well suited for this game. Again, they made mistakes early, but I mean, even the last time these two teams played, I questioned the Buccaneers' approach to that game, because you look at early in that game, they simply played man coverage and guarded Tyreek Hill one-on-one, and he had 269 receiving yards, 200 of them in the first quarter. You simply can't do that. You have to coach a perfect game to beat the Chiefs. They also didn't run the ball enough. So even though, the Bucs are a passing team, they're going to have some balance, slow the game down a little bit to beat the Chiefs. But overall, I like Andy Reid and his creative play calling. Eric Bieniemy, a great play caller on offense. And guys, I'm surprised neither of you guys brought this up, and we've talked about this on the show, Andy Reid, 18-3 off a bye week in the regular season, 6-2 in the postseason. So, I mean, this is a bye week. Andy Reid off a bye week. You give that man 2 weeks to prepare, and you give him Patrick Mahomes, and you give him Tyreek Hill, you give him Travis Kelce, good luck. So, yeah, I like the Chiefs coaching staff in this game. We are going to get to the picks, but before we get to the picks, Tom didn't want to hype this matchup too much, and I felt that we've done a good job of not hyping up the Mahomes versus Brady thing, but I think we would be ill-advised not to at least discuss it. Guys, what do you think? Is this a bigger legacy game for Mahomes or Brady? Because, I mean, down the road, assuming Mahomes stays healthy, the discussion is going to be, is this guy passing up Tom Brady as the greatest quarterback ever? And this is a matchup that we can point to 20 years down the road. Who is this game bigger to, Mahomes or Brady, when we're talking legacy?
I mean, I think it has to be a bigger legacy for Tom Brady. I mean, the last Super Bowl that he won was the one that separated him from Charles Haley as having the most Super Bowl rings as an individual player, going from 5 to 6. I mean, what's the bigger difference? 6-2 or 7-1? I mean, 7-1 is just such a massive chasm for any player to jump, quite frankly. And I mean, it's also bigger for Tom Brady's legacy because he's very clearly near the end. He said that he wants to play to 45. I think this year he's even said that he could go beyond 45. He's sitting at 43 years old right now. But Patrick Mahomes is 25. Patrick Mahomes has, again, assuming good health and, and wanting to continue to play football for an extended career, he can go easily 10, 15 more seasons. So ultimately, number 2 probably might not be the biggest title for him to try to get legacy-wise. I think 7 for Brady would just be, the biggest, storyline, the biggest legacy boost. And the fact that he's doing it in Tampa Bay, the first one away from Bill Belichick, that makes it pretty significant too. So I think it's much more important for Brady to get 7 than it is for Mahomes to get number 2.
Well, for Patrick Mahomes, it would be big to get back-to-back Super Bowl wins. Obviously, they're both at different stages of their career. Mentioned earlier, Brady's built his legacy. Patrick Mahomes is currently building his. So, but if you're Patrick Mahomes, obviously you don't want to lose to the GOAT. And if you're Tom Brady, you don't want to lose to Patrick Mahomes, the up-and-coming GOAT, right? Like, you kind of compare it to, would Michael Jordan want to lose against a young LeBron? No, not a chance, So the elder doesn't want to lose to the protege, if you would. So I don't know the answer to the question, but I'll just use those comparisons.
Yeah, those are very good comparisons. I think this is sort of like a passing of the torch type game. I think Mahomes is already the best player in the league, but I think Brady is still in many ways kind of the face of the league, and I think Mahomes certainly is going to become the face of the league if he already isn't, and this is kind of a game where he can do that. I actually am going to disagree with Tom for the first time all day. I think this game, obviously it's huge for both of them. There's no wrong answer per se, but I think it's a little bit bigger to Mahomes just because I think Mahomes certainly could get the 8 Super Bowl rings even if he loses this one because he's Patrick Mahomes. But if Brady gets to 7 and Mahomes has 1, it's going to be hard. And I think at that point, people could say, look, and it's a team game. I don't buy into the whole ring thing. I think it's a team game. But most people like to compare rings. And if they look at Tom Brady and say, look, hey, a 43-year-old Tom Brady beat a 25-year-old Patrick Mahomes while Brady went on a new team, that's not going to look very good for Mahomes on paper. Again, it's a team game. There are many factors that go into it. I don't necessarily agree with that argument, but I think that's the argument that a lot of people will make. And if, say, Mahomes does get the 7 rings and they're tied 7-7 and Brady has the head-to-head edge, I think that's not going to look great for Mahomes. I think this is arguably going to be the only time they match up in the Super Bowl. We could see them again next year, but certainly Tom Brady's not going to play forever. So, all likelihood, this is the only Super Bowl matchup we see. They're 2-2 head-to-head against each other. So far, they play in different conferences, so this could determine their all-time head-to-head record as well. I think if Brady wins this game, he'll be able to say, look, I beat Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. I beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That's going to look bad for Mahomes. So I think in terms of a legacy game, I think this is kind of a game that Mahomes needs to win. I think a loss as a 25-year-old, Super Bowl MVP, regular season MVP last few years, I think he needs this game more for his legacy. And if he loses this game, his legacy of being the greatest of all time is going to take a hit. I know there's a lot of seasons to go, but, you get the 7 Super Bowl rings, that's tough. So I think this game is bigger for Mahomes and his legacy than Brady's. Guys, what do we think about the game predictions? I will hold Drew to a score because he's saying it's a toss-up of toss-ups. So I want you to make a prediction, Drew. We're going to go to you to hear Drew Brackett's prediction for the big game.
Chiefs win 27-20. Patrick Mahomes, MVP, 42 for 53 passing.
How many yards and touchdowns? You're very specific there.
Only, 326 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Not only. Which that, by the way, is not far off from his average, which is crazy to think about. The guy gets about 300 yards a game over his career. well over 2 touchdown passes. So
yeah, I've been going back and forth with this earlier in the week. I was like, I think the Bucks will probably win this game, and then I don't know. Today I'm like, well, I think the Chiefs will win. So it's a complete and total toss-up of a game. Hopefully it's going to be a really good game and a close game at the end. That's what you always want for a Super Bowl. But yeah, and so 57 total points.
I thought you were going to go closer because you've got the Chiefs covering. I thought you were going to give me a field goal win. I'm a little surprised.
No,
and I thought you were going to give me more points. 27-20. The over-under is 56 points. So clearly you've got this game going under.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I said 57. Yeah, 47. Yeah. Hammer the under. Absolutely.
Hammer the under. I think this is the second highest or highest over-under. What is it? Something like that.
It's, what was, one of the games was 55 previously. I think it's the second highest. Or maybe it is that. Shoot, it may be the highest.
Right now, I think it's the highest.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. I'll look that up while you guys talk.
Well, by the way, did you find out that it was McCole? You never got back to us.
Inconclusive research.
Inconclusive. I will send you, by the way, I saved my...
I found Mecole, but I also found McCole. So
there's a lot of
it's inconclusive.
There's a lot of people who commonly mispronounce it, but he himself told the Chiefs it's McCole. I
just wonder what he had it at Georgia.
He probably didn't even know.
Exactly.
And the athletic director, staff person, probably never even paid attention to it and assumed it was Mecole.
It's like Tyrod Taylor. Apparently it's Tyrod, right? I mean, we have no idea. We have no clue.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Interesting.
Really? Oh, that came up a year or two ago where, he came out and said, it's Tyrod Taylor, not Tyrod.
Interesting. Okay, well, I missed that one completely.
Really? Oh, yeah.
I remember, but anywho, I like to save the things from all the sports games I've covered, and I saved everything Chiefs-related, and I know I've got the pronunciation guide saved somewhere, so I will have to pull that up for you. But the official Chiefs pronunciation guide goes with McCole, but even the great Scott Fennell has called him Mecole on the air, so common mistake. But anywho,
This is the second highest over-under, by the way.
What's
the highest was the New England and Atlanta Super Bowl. It was 57.5.
And it was 34-28, right?
Yeah, that one went way over.
Well,
not way over. It went over.
No, it actually went under or it was, what was it, 56.5? It would have gone
57.5
for overtime.
Fair enough.
Because it was 28 all, and then the Chiefs scored a touchdown in overtime. Or not the Chiefs, the Patriots. That was that epic 28-3 comeback. Anywho, I thought you would pick the Chiefs. I thought you would pick the under. I was just a little surprised that you went by Kansas City by a full touchdown. Surprising.
Yeah.
Castleman, what do you got?
So I don't know if this will be the actual score, but I'm saying it is indicative of how close I think the game is going to be. I'm going to take Chiefs 31, Buccaneers 30. I think it's going to be that close if, the score is not necessarily quite the same. Although I think, maybe my score is a bit off because, Drew, something that I've found in my research, can either of you tell me how many first quarter points Tom Brady has scored in all 9 of his Super Bowls to date?
124.
First quarter points? I'll help you out. It over or under single digits?
Under.
It's 3 points in the first quarter over 9 Super Bowls. Tom Brady's offenses are notoriously slow starters. Now, I don't know if that'll change because it's in a different offense, a different coaching staff. That's why I feel at least a little bit more confidence in that. But that was something that blew my mind, and it's probably going to be a good sign for the under. But I'll take Chiefs 31, Buccaneers to 30.
That's a great stat.
That's going to have to change for Tampa Bay if they want to win because if they get behind against Kansas City, they've got no chance.
Good luck.
I'll tell you this, Tom. You have the Chiefs' point total exactly correct. At least what I think. I've got
okay.
31, Tampa Bay 27, 3-point line. The Chiefs cover it by a point. I do actually think the game could go two ways to me. I'm very confident in a Chiefs win. Very confident. I think it could be a very close game, or it could be one of those games where the Buccaneers get a backdoor cover, much like, or a backdoor almost cover, where the Chiefs are up 10 points, up 11 points, Tampa Bay gets a touchdown to make it 3 to 4 points, and then the Chiefs run out the clock, which is exactly what happened in their last matchup, by the way. Kansas City was winning the whole way. They got up 27-10. Tampa Bay rallies to make it 27-24. The Chiefs run the clock out, win the game. I think Tampa could keep it close. It's always easier to make adjustments when you struggle, but I think Kansas City simply has too much talent, and I've been talking about it, all show long. 462 passing yards for Mahomes the last time these two teams played. Is he going to get 462? Probably not. Are the Bucs going to get better at pass defense? Probably. But I don't know that they're miraculously going to completely shut down the Chiefs' passing attack. I think this is a horrible matchup for the Bucs secondary. So I will take the Chiefs, 31-27. We're taking the Chiefs across the board. Drew and I have the Chiefs covering. Castleman has the Bucs covering the spread, but losing the game. By the way, Mahomes, in his postseason career, his numbers are off the charts. I had them written down somewhere, but, the dude has unbelievable. He's never had a bad playoff game. Tom Brady's had more bad playoff games this postseason alone than Mahomes has in his entire career. Let that sink in. I'm going to look up those Mahomes playoff stats, but we're going to get to some fun Super Bowl prop bets. This is the one that I really want to know, guys. The big one. This is the most bet prop Super Bowl week. This one right here. Heads or tails on the coin toss. What do we think, guys? This is interesting. There's a lot of interesting research. Let me hear what you guys have to take. Then I'll give you an analytical, scientific breakdown of the heads-tails argument.
Well, it is the most bet prop for the Super Bowl, and it is also the worst value. You're paying juice either way for a flip of a coin. If you're going to have that wager, have it with a friend. Don't give a cut to the bookies or the casinos or whatever. Tom and Drew, I know you guys have a bookie together. You guys sort something out. There's no need to go to Bovada or anybody else, FanDuel, for that, and just give away juice to the bookies. So put like $10, put a bottle of wine on it, whatever you want to do. I didn't know we were picking heads or tails for it.
This was not in the rundown. Yeah,
that wasn't in the rundown.
Rundown.
No, you had who's winning the coin toss. I'm all prepared for that.
Oh, I meant to put heads and tails.
Well, I will answer, Tom. I'll give you a minute to think. I'm going to go with heads. I think I do heads most years. I'm not a tails never fails guy like you are, Common, but give me heads. It's historically what I bet with you on every Super Bowl, I think. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm usually the go with heads guy on the coin flip.
So here's the history, guys. Super Bowl coin toss history. 29 times tails, 25 heads. In recent history, we've had sort of a streak of sorts. 2009 to 2013, coincidentally the years we were in college, we had five straight years where it was heads. That was I used to bet Drew on heads versus tails. I'm pretty sure I picked tails every year. I'm pretty sure I lost tails every year. In fact, I know this. I at one point stopped betting it because I always lost it. And this must have been during the 2014-2017 era where we had 4 straight tails during that era. 2018 we had heads, and the last 2 years we've had tails. So I think we're going for the trifecta. 3 years in a row, Tails never fails. I'll be right. Drew will be wrong. Settle the tie.
Well, the great irony is that I don't have a coin on me, so what I have done is I have pulled up in a separate tab a coin flip. So I'm going to hit the button. I am taking heads officially for the Super Bowl. The internet has decided it for me on a literal 50-50 in terms of picking who's going to win the coin toss, because no coin toss has any predictive value. You can talk about all the streaks and trends that you want. They have nothing to do with what the next call is going to be. But the last team to win the coin toss and the Super Bowl was in 2014, the Seattle Seahawks over the Denver Broncos. So really, the game will be decided before the ball's even kicked off, before a single pass is thrown, a whistle blown. The game will be decided well before it even happens. So if I pick the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, I have to pick the Buccaneers as the team that wins the coin toss.
I agree. I'm going to pick the Bucs to win the coin toss then, because I agree with the analytical trend you brought up.
Well, I just know that I don't know who calls the coin flip for the Bucs. Brady?
Maybe him, maybe Gronk.
No.
Brady's calling heads, so he's going to win the toss.
Okay. Well, no, but the team that wins the toss loses the game, so that could work.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could work for you.
All right. Well, we'll see. Guys, another really, really good one. Over-under 124.5 seconds on the national anthem. So 2 minutes and a half second. Is it going to go over or under?
Isn't it 2
Last
minutes
I saw
and 4.5 seconds?
Last I saw was 1:59. But if we can get 124.5, I'll take that as a number.
124 is 2 minutes and 4 seconds, right?
Yes. What's the number we're at?
124.5 seconds is what
Got it.
Yeah, it is a duet for the national anthem this year, which could kind of muck things up a little bit. But I think given somebody's tapping on my window, I'll let you guys cover everything else.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah. Be safe. It's interesting. I was gonna go with the under 124.5, and I think I'm gonna stick with it. Under 124.5 seconds for the national anthem.
I definitely think it's going to be over, and I love disagreeing with you, but the fact that it is a duet, to me, kind of thinks that they're going to slow things down a little bit. I think Eric Church is one of the performers, and then Jasmine Sullivan is the other. And Eric Church originally was not interested in doing the national anthem after the Capitol riots. He said that he wanted to take part in the national anthem. It's going to be a white male and a female African-American woman. It's going to be a show of unity, something we need. I think they're going to draw this performance out. They're going to have a very long finish at the very end. It's going to be 2 people. I love the over, man. If you want to bet something, bet the over. Over 124.5.
Yeah, I will say I'm not in love with the under. I think the number is a bad number wherever you got this. So that's why I'm taking the under.
So you guys had it at 1:59, and I've got it at 2 minutes and 4 seconds?
Yes, that's a big difference.
Okay. Well,
I'll say that.
I'm taking the over regardless. I feel good about it.
Yes.
I wonder where Castleman is.
Well, he's talking to the person who's tapping on his window.
They must be overhearing the show and must really enjoy it. And they're probably
clearly.
Where
did he give his answer?
No, he hasn't given his answer.
Yeah, he hasn't. Okay.
So I'm greatly anticipating his answer because I feel like he's going to find some fun anecdote in the typical Castleman way.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's going to have a great pick for this prop.
Is.
There he is. Hey, he's back.
So, Tom, before you give us your pick, what's going on, man? Someone's knocking on your window. We got breaking news. You must be listening to the show and wanting to know where you can listen to the show or what?
I thought maybe Jenna had taken the trash out and accidentally locked herself out or something like that. I am fairly convinced I'm being harassed by ADT. There's this guy that's come to our door like every other night, and he knocks on the front door and he rings the bell, and I think now he like walks around to the back and sees that there's a light on in this room and raps on the window. So
you didn't see a person though.
I didn't look. No, once I saw Jenna was in the front room, it's like I'm not looking out back, you know.
Oh, I thought you investigated.
Oh no, I'm not that courageous.
We may have to place in a call to the police.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna have to at least like shoot this guy an email or a text or something like that and be like, "Hey, I'm not interested. Stop coming to my house and ruining my evenings." But enough of that. Where I left you guys off with what we were doing the over under.
Over under
the anthem.
124.5 seconds.
I'll take under 124 and a half. I think that with little fanfare, they're not going to be, milking any notes or anything like that. I think they'll get in and out pretty quickly.
Contrary, since it's a duet, I think they're going to milk a lot of notes.
Okay.
We're going opposite thinking.
And Drew, what did you have for that?
I had the under as well.
Okay.
Because the number's a terrible number.
So you guys are against me on both of these. I'm getting like it's a gang tackle. Both of you going against me.
Mine was a literal coin flip on the first one.
Yeah, and the coin flip went against me. For the record, I will not be placing any wagers on these. Just so we know. I don't feel confident enough knowing my luck with some of these. I will place some wagers on the locks of the week maybe though. But we got one final one. And of all three of these, this is the one that I feel most confident about. The Super Bowl Gatorade bath. Is it going to be clear/white or any other color?
I mean,
any other color.
Yeah. I mean, both teams have red in their jerseys and logos, so I would say red should probably be the favorite. Last I checked, it was at plus 165. I don't know if that is the actual odds-on favorite, but I imagine.
Orange.
I think. I'd have to check.
Orange was up there too.
So last year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and they went with orange. So, by the way, I'm wearing my red for the Chiefs, but then I realized that red is also the Bucks color, and this is more Buccaneer red than Chief red. So hopefully it doesn't bring the Chiefs bad luck. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, though, as we said, and I think they're going to go with, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They went with orange last year, and it's brought them good fortune this year. They're going to go with orange again. We're going to have a repeat orange, repeat Chiefs champs, and I can't wait to see it. That orange, I'll be awaiting it at the very end of the game. It's one of the things to look out for.
That's plus 160.
Plus 160, that's great value. Go ahead and bet it. That's wonderful value.
Drew, what do you have? You had anything but clear, right?
Yeah, anything but clear.
But he thinks it's going to be red, not orange. I'm telling you, go with orange.
I think it'd be red as well. Yeah, clear/water is at 650. So I don't know. It's pretty high up there.
Yeah, I don't know what this Super Bowl prop sheet I picked was just not very good because they gave very different odds. So try and find the same one I picked. It's
for sure. Yeah.
Great odds on not white or clear. That's the same one I sent to Drew, by the way. So.
Oh, all right.
Keep an eye on it, Drew Brackett.
I'll have to.
Speaking of wagering, for Locks of the Week, my favorite segment. Back-to-back decent weeks on the show. I mean, Tom couldn't keep up his 3-0 mark. He did go 1-2. He was the low man on the tadpole. Hit the Clippers +2 versus the Magic. Clippers won easily. He did not do very well on English Premier League. His first time betting it. Did not have beginner's luck. He had Man City, Sheffield over 3 goals. We only had 1 goal in that game. West Ham +0.5 versus Liverpool. Liverpool wins 3-1. Liverpool has been doing a lot of losing lately, but not when Tom
Not enough.
bets against them.
Should
Drew
have
Brackett.
known to fade myself.
Yeah. Drew Brackett, meanwhile, again, no surprises here. English Premier League soccer under. Again, he hits it. A low under. 2 goals. Crystal Palace and Wolves, only 2 goals. Well, it was a 1-0 game for Crystal Palace. Drew gets the cover there. He did get a wash in the Sevilla Ibar over-under. He had 2. It was 2 goals exactly. Even money there. He had NHL Predators Lightning, despite not knowing more than 1 player on both teams combined. He did pick over 6.5. It was 4-3 Lightning. He just barely won that one. So 2-0-1 week. I was 2-1. I got the Blazers +5 at the Rockets. Blazers lost by 3. I got Sevilla minus 0.5 over A-Bar. They won 2-0. And I missed the Heat covering against the Clippers. That didn't go well on the season. I'm like basically a game and a half of up on Drew Brackett. And Tom is like really far back. So he's got work to do.
What are the records on the season? Do you have those?
The season records, I have 21 wins, 22 losses, and 2 ties. Drew has 19 wins, 23 losses, and 3 ties. So essentially, Drew, you're 1 behind me in the loss column, but you're 2 behind me in the win column.
Yeah,
so I say
yes.
1.5.
Sure.
Tom is 17 and 28. So work to be done.
Work to be done.
Yeah, I'm not super far behind though. It's just I don't get those ties on the over-unders that you guys give soccer bets. I'm out on those. I'm a win or a lose. I don't get any evens.
You don't get the washes.
Nope.
Well, Drew, why don't you lead us off? I know you're short and sweet. I believe I want to understand you guys are following the rules I put in that we're going only Super Bowl this week. Is that right?
Correct for me.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
What do you got for the Super Bowl? We're going Super Bowl only locks of the week.
Well, I would like to get the latest numbers here, so give me 1 second. All right, well, I announced it earlier, I guess. I'm going to take the under in the Super Bowl on Sunday. 56, it's going to go under, so be sure to take that. And then there's a prop on Bovada that was, will the team that wins the coin toss win the game? I think it was like minus 110, the odds, and I said no. Take the no on that. Bet the no. And then finally, I'll give a parlay. Let's have some fun. I'll give a parlay.
Here we go.
So here's the parlay. It's what will the Chiefs do first? Touchdown or punt? Well, they're going to punt. That's minus 110 odds. What will the Bucs do first? They're going to punt. That's minus 150 odds. So parlay that, and you can bet $10 to win 22.
So you think there's going to be, in this great game of offenses, the first 2 possessions are going to be punts?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so your other pick, this is what Castleman said. You said the team that wins the coin toss will lose the game.
Correct.
That has happened every year since 2014.
And see, I didn't know that. I just saw the odds, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
All right. I love it. I'm writing these down so I have them now.
Mm-hmm.
Tom?
I also have a bonus.
Bonus.
Yes. Let me find it here. Tariq Hill, under 96.5 receiving yards. Take that.
I'm going over there.
Of course you are.
That's not my bet, though. I think it could
I
go
know. And then that's. Well, do I want to make that my lock? Okay, let's do this. The parlay is the bonus. The
Okay.
Hill bet under 96.5 receiving yards as my last lock.
Tyreek Hill under 96.5. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tom, what do you got?
All right, so all of these bets, all of these wagers can be found on Bovada. That's my usual source when I find these things. So they do have a parlay kind of built in, if you will. So for even money, you can get the following parlay. Brady and Mahomes, both over 200 passing yards. Hill and Kelsey, both over 70 receiving yards. I looked at that and I thought there is very good chance of all of those things happening. So even money on that one on Bovada. Going for a little bit of juice, but still within the margin of acceptability at minus 145. Will either team attempt a 2-point conversion? I'm going to lock in yes. Both of these teams are big on offense, and more likely than not, one team will probably be in a position where they need to get those extra couple of points. So I think there will be at least one 2-point conversion on Sunday. And then at minus 110, each team will score 9 or more points in each half. So we have that interesting Tom Brady statistic. I'm going to hope that he bucks the trend, pun completely intended on that front. So each team scoring 9 points or more in each half. So those are my 3 locks.
Okay, hold on. So I want to understand the first one correctly.
Yes.
So go over that one again slowly, like I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay, so it's even money. And it's the following parlay. Both Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes will throw for more than 200 pass yards. Both Travis Kelsey and Tyreek Hill will have more than 70 reception yards.
Combined. Or no.
Each.
Each.
You need all 4 of those things to happen.
For it to be even money, yeah. And that was in, let me see if I can find the actual specific name. That is found on Bovada under the Super Bowl requested wagers. I was able to find that. So in the odds section up to plus 500, I found that at even money and thought that was really, really smart betting.
Yeah, I mean,
which means I'm going to be completely wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly Mahomes and Brady should both go over 200 yards. Whether Hill and Kelsey both go over 70 or not, I mean, I'd argue they should, but that one could go either way.
We'll see.
Drew Brackett might think Hill might go under, although he can go over 70 and under 96, so I don't know.
There's a healthy margin in there.
There is.
There's a healthy margin. My locks of the week, I'm going to disagree with Drew. I'm going over 56 points. Drew's going the under. I think we've got 2 great offenses, 2 great quarterbacks. We'll both want to put on a show. The trend that we see in the NFL these days is the offense beats the defense. I know we had the low-scoring Super Bowl a couple years ago, but I think it's an outlier. You give the offenses more time to prepare, I feel more confident in the offenses showing up, so give me over 56 points in that game. I also am going to go ahead and go with, let me pull up my picks here because I skipped my picks. I know it's Mahomes for MVP at minus 106 to win MVP, so almost even money. You're getting decent odds there. I think, we see the quarterback win Super Bowl MVP. That's a common thing that we see. I think Hill and Kelsey will split the yards there. Mahomes gets the nod for MVP since I think KC wins. And then rounding out my locks of the week, I like Chiefs -3 over the Bucks. I've been talking about it all so long. I think the Buccaneers secondary is bad. The Chiefs passing offense is best in the league. I expect Kansas City to pass all over Tampa Bay and cover the line. Take the line, take the over, take the Chiefs, and make some money.
Interesting.
It's not nearly as proppy as Drew and I decided to go. It'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. There's so many rabbit holes you can go down with all these different prop bets.
Yeah, and there's good ones online. I think Drew and I are filling out one of 25 different prop bets, so we'll see who gets more right of these 25 between Drew and I. I'll be happy to send you a link to this as well, Tom, if you'd like to participate. No pressure to wager, no need to wager. You can do it just for fun.
Sure.
Just know that I plan on beating Drew. That's my goal for the Super Bowl. Predict more of these 25.
It's your goal for everything.
It's what?
It's your goal for everything.
That is true. That is true. Have you looked at those props yet, Drew?
Little bit. I've dabbled.
Dabbled. So he's already doing the prep work. I might be in trouble.
We'll see. I got to figure out what I'm doing here. I mean, you're picking straight up chalk everywhere, which I expect, but it's like, oh man, if Common's picking straight up chalk, that's not going to happen. So I need to rethink my my picks.
I don't know. Some of those are toss-ups. I don't think all of it is chalk. Certainly the heads and tails isn't chalk.
Oh no, I was talking about your locks.
Oh yeah, my locks. Yeah, on paper I'm picking chalk, but I mean you seem to be adamantly against the over 56, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Tom, you've got over, don't you? Because you have 31-30.
Yeah, but I didn't lock it in, so
Yeah.
for all the good that'll do.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably do better. When you lock it in, you do worse. So
This is true. I could barbecue you.
yeah.
Thank me.
That's a thought. That's a thought.
So recapping the show, final score predictions one more time. I've got 31-27 Chiefs. Tom has 31-30 Chiefs. And Drew has 27-20 Chiefs.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. We'll recap the Super Bowl, and we'll see who's right. Looking forward to an exciting Salute Your Sports show next week, and definitely an exciting Super Bowl on Sunday. Guys, that'll do it. Have a good one.
Do we not have statements?
Oh, statement of the week. I didn't hit stop recording.
The most crucial portion?
Oh, my God. What am I doing?
Do you have something prepared? Or?
Yeah, statements of the week. Oh, my gosh.
I was like, oh, that was incredible. I wasn't going to say anything, no way, but the producer's sleeping over there. I know it's late that we're recording this, but ooh-wee.
Man, how are you still awake?
It is. That's why I didn't say anything.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh, man, we're going to, get off here, and oh, no. But Castleman had to bring it up.
Well, I had like a whole long thing.
Statement of the week.
Is it Super Bowl related?
I have mine Super Bowl related, but I mean, I'd like it to be. But if you feel really passionate about something,
oh God,
go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm not first. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, mine is kind of tangentially Super Bowl related because it's easy to look at the Super Bowl and look at the two best teams in the league and say, these are the templates. This is how teams should construct themselves going forward. And in this matchup especially, a lot of the narrative is going to be all about the quarterback. And I'm here to say that could not be further from the truth. While the quarterback is the most important position on the field, it should not be put in a position where it has to be the best position on the field for a given team. Let's look at who hasn't made it to the Super Bowl this year. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan. These quarterbacks are all relied upon by their respective teams to ascend their team's shortcomings and make more with less. Of this group, Rodgers and Wilson each have a title, and only one of them, Rodgers, can really be credited as the because of player. Russell Wilson won a title more on Seattle's Legion of Boom and defense. You look at a player like Ben Roethlisberger, another quarterback who's not in the Super Bowl this year. He's won two of them. But again, both of them have been on the back of a really good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Let's look in, more historically at the modern era, where we have all-time greats like Brett Favre, Drew Brees, Dan Marino, John Elway, Peyton Manning. They've only made it to a few Super Bowls despite being some of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the game. Brees, Favre, and Manning each won a title in their prime. And then Manning and Elway both won their titles post-prime when they relied on other members of the team or the rest of the team to kind of carry them to those victories. Too often, NFL executives and fans look at the quarterback position as the end-all, be-all for their team, when really you can look at these two franchises where you have Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Two of them are in the discussion to be greatest of all time because they have great coaching staffs. They have great schemes that complement their skills. They have great teammates that help lift them up so the quarterback doesn't have to do everything. It can be backbreaking work, and we see far too many great quarterbacks fall short of the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl because they're relied on too much. So the statement is, while the quarterback is the most important position, it should not be relied upon as a consistent blueprint for winning a Super Bowl. You need to build up everything else too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm 100% second your statement, and that's kind of the basis of my whole argument of, why we consider Tom Brady hands down the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, I look at Peyton Manning, I look at Aaron Rodgers, those two guys, maybe even throw Brees in that conversation. For sure, Manning and Rodgers, those two guys didn't have the defenses that Tom Brady had. They didn't have, per se, the coaching staff, more so the defense. But you look at who Tom Brady's been surrounded by. The first 3 Super Bowls Tom Brady won, he was a game manager. Certainly the last few he's put up numbers, but the league has changed because it's all about offense now. But a lot of it is about getting receiving core, getting targets. We talked about this all show long, that the Chiefs and the Bucks have the best playmakers in football. So as great as the quarterbacks are, you've got to throw to someone. If you don't have anyone to throw to, what can you do? And I agree with you, Tom. I think football, to me, actually, is the ultimate team game. And the irony is that we kind of value, like, the quarterback winning the rings. It's almost even more valued than, like, a superstar player in the NBA winning a ring. I think, like, you think of quarterback, you think of Super Bowl and Super Bowl rings. But football, there's 10 other guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. Then there's, 22 guys are out there on special teams, 11 on your team. You've got a separate kicker also who kicks. You've got a punter. You've got your head coach. You've got DC, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. So, I mean, winning is a team game. And we've seen it. This playoff run, Tom Brady's been poor. He's getting all this hype about making his 10th Super Bowl in a row. Well, his teammates have shown up for him. So I do tend to agree with you. I will say it helps a lot to have the best quarterback. When you have a generational talent like Mahomes, you go out and get him. But it is certainly a team game as well.
Absolutely, yeah. What do you guys have for statement of the week?
Well, I wasn't going to go Super Bowl, but I'll kind of go Super Bowl. I'll be curious to see, obviously, usually, historically, the Super Bowl is one of the most hyped sporting events in the U.S. It's Super Bowl Sunday. A lot of people watch this game. Now, with the pandemic going on, that pregame hype, how is it going to be different this year? There's no media day, really. There's not going to be the swarms of media that are there. The sidelines aren't going to be filled to the brim with, everybody and their mom covering it. There's not going to be parties afterwards that are going to be kind of publicly displayed. So I'll be curious to see how the pandemic plays a part in this Super Bowl, if it will at all. Hopefully it doesn't, because it's been such a crazy year and such a crazy season. But, really glad we're at this point and that we got this far, because I know even on the first show we did, we were probably a little skeptical of whether or not there would be a Super Bowl. So, just glad that all the teams did their part. Everybody's been doing their part in that aspect, and we're here, and should be a great game.
Yeah, I wasn't as skeptical, by the way. I felt like the NFL would find a way to make it happen.
Well, sure.
Anywho, I mean, it's a fair point, though. There is some skepticism, and it's actually really cool if you think about it, that the NFL was kind of the last major sports league in America, at least, to finish its season. We've seen the NBA, we saw the MLB, the NHL, even like MLS, even WNBA, Women's Soccer League, like all these other leagues have completed their seasons, and the NFL is kind of the last one to do so. So it kind of certainly wasn't the way we're used to, but the NFL kind of sort of shows that all these leagues made it through COVID somehow. Missing Super Bowl Media Day certainly is something that was missed, but I mean, obviously we understand that it had to happen. I think one thing we didn't talk about, and maybe just real quick, not a long debate on it. This is something I should have asked earlier, but I mean, does Tampa Bay being at home give them much of an edge? Because I think there's only 22 to 23,000 fans allowed in, and I think like 8,000 of them, I believe, maybe it's 7 or 8,000, are medical health professionals who got free tickets to the game. Among the other 15,000 will be one of our friends, Jake Schlegel, going to the Super Bowl. Good for him. He's a big Brady fan, even though he lives in Kansas City, grew up in Kansas. Whole nother story there. So what do we think about the crowd? What type of factor it's going to play in? And is the Bucs de facto home field advantage really kind of gone if there was one to begin with?
I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Like, they're professional athletes; they can play anywhere, right? Like, home field doesn't matter, road or home game, it doesn't matter. But you got to think that if you're the Bucs, sleeping in your own bed at night throughout the week, and especially on Saturday night, and just treating this like a normal game as best you can, you got to think that's an advantage on their side. But the Chiefs are treating it like a normal road game. But again, it's still a road game. Now, obviously, the fans, it's going to be a pretty neutral site, I think. It's not going to be your typical Buccaneer home game, but I do think there's a slight advantage. Not much, maybe like a 51% edge for the Bucs on that front.
Yeah, I'll give a slight edge to Tampa Bay for having the home field advantage, if for no other reason than instead of having the cannons go off when either team scores a touchdown, we're only going to have them go off for one team scoring the touchdown. So slight edge, but of course, as we've been talking about all season long, home field advantage has been kind of negated with COVID and not having as many fans in the stands. I think it might have a little bit of an impact this week, but probably nothing too noticeable.
Yeah, and I think we would expect to see a little bit more Tampa Bay fans simply because, it's in their stadium. I don't think it's going to be packed in Buccaneer country, but I think it's easier for people, especially in these COVID times, to say, hey, I'm going to drive up to the game from the city as opposed to, hey, I'm a Kansas City fan getting an airline ticket from Kansas City, Missouri. I think beyond the fact that you guys said it is negated, I think there's a little bit more comfort with Tampa Bay having that home game. But I think the Chiefs thrive off the road environment. I think it's something that Mahomes thrives off of. I know a lot of people talk about Arrowhead and what an advantage it is for Kansas City. But actually, the last 2 years, Kansas City has had a better road record than a home record. In fact, they were 8-0 on the road this year. So, yeah, minor thing, but not big enough to make a true difference in the game. My statement of the week will come as no surprise. This game is the changing of the guard in the National Football League. This is it. This is a sweet moment. I think Tom Brady has been the face of the NFL for about the last 20 years. I mean, I think certainly you had Peyton Manning in the mix there. Aaron Rodgers is a big name. Now Mahomes has come up. But if we have to think of the NFL, who do we think of? It's Tom Brady. He's the face of the league. I think this Super Bowl is going to be a time for Mahomes to become face of the league. I think we're going to transition. And Mahomes is already better than Brady, but sort of kind of an eye-opening thing for people. They're kind of going to think of Mahomes as the top dog after him and his team take down Brady. And I'm going to go as far as saying this. Again, this comes as no surprise for you guys, but maybe it surprises some of the listeners and viewers. Mahomes is going to get more Super Bowl rings than Tom Brady. Assuming no injuries, I'm going to, knock on wood, assume everything goes good with him health-wise in his career. I think he's got a 10-year contract in Kansas City. He's got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce locked up for a few more years. I think we saw Sammy Watkins took a pay cut this year. And I think a few of these guys, it would be advantageous for them to take a pay cut. And I think they will on the offensive side of the ball because earning a few extra bucks isn't worth more than getting better statistics and more rings, which is what guys like Hill and Kelce can do with Mahomes as their quarterback. I think Mahomes is going to get to 7 Super Bowl rings. He's going to surpass Tom Brady. He will retire with the most regular season and postseason passing yards and passing touchdowns and the most Super Bowl rings. Yes, when we're all dead, someone might pass him up. But while we're living and when Mahomes retires, he will be the undisputed greatest quarterback of all time. By the way, the reason why Tom Brady keeps playing, he wants to have all the records. That's why he's still playing. And that's why he wants to play to 45. He wants to have all the records so that someone says, oh, he's just a Super Bowl QB. Then they look up and they see that he's got the most yards passing. Well, yeah, you could have the most yards passing if you play till you're 45 at an elite level. But I think Mahomes is going to pass Brady on all the marks, and Mahomes is going to be the greatest quarterback and greatest player in National Football League history. And they had a talk on, what's the show? First Take. I boycott the show. I don't watch it. I don't like the show. But I saw the headline that Stephen A. Smith did not want to compare Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan. Well, it's time to compare Patrick Mahomes to Michael Jordan because that's how great his greatness is. He is the Michael Jordan of the National Football League.
I agree with that.
All right.
All right. Am I forgetting anything? Am I safe to sign off this time?
It's safe to send Drew to bed, yes.
It's 8:42. It's 9:42 in North Carolina. Drew, this is 9 o'clock your bedtime, or what is it?
It's just when I get tired, and I'm tired.
All right. Well, again, I will recap the Super Bowl picks one last time.
Yeah,
31-30 Chiefs, Castleman. 31-27 Common Chiefs. 27-20 Chiefs for Drew Brackett. So we're all picking the Chiefs, as should you. Everyone enjoy the Super Bowl. Stay safe. And enjoy that game. We're going to recap it next week on Salute Your Sports. Have a great night.